I was thinking a lot about this idea of the in-between, and between these two institutions, Kunsthalle and a church, which also in an unexpected way connects to my thinking around the history of the Sahara and how it's been imagined as this kind of in-between space. But here it's kind of interesting to think of the in-between space as a place to be rather than a place to move through, which is exactly the idea that I'm trying to kind of grapple with in this idea of like a future history of the Sahara, not as a border and not as a place to pass through, but a place of its own, you know? This work is called A Recurse for Three Worlds, and it's a recurse, which is a new thing that I'm trying to work on, which is trying to think alongside the idea of recursivity, which are things that repeat in kind of self-similar or self-reproducing ways, and the idea of a curse, which of course in front of a church is a loaded term, but I think about the idea of a curse as a set of actions, a set of kind of words and relations which act. Unlike a text which you just read, a curse is a text which acts beyond itself. And so for me, the desire to write recurses comes from trying to think of these diagrammatic works as works which also act. It's my first work in public space, so I was thinking a lot about what it means to have this work in public, or to be in a relationship with the public. And for me, that means really trying to imagine that the work is not a performance, like a public performance, but an attempt to kind of think in public. It's a diagram made of many diagrams. All of the diagrams that have contributed to this work have come out of conversations of different kinds, conversations with scientists and geographers and artists and poets. And I've tried in these conversations to kind of center the idea of recursivity or repetition and transformation. So the idea of acting is deeply connected to the idea of change. Something that acts is something that transforms itself or transforms its environment. Think about these diagrams as diagrams, not as drawings, not as posters or wall treatments, but just as diagrams. They're kind of formless. When they get transformed into an object, I think of that transformation as a rendering. And so for this work, we thought about the rendering in many different ways. At some point, we thought about it as a painting, and ultimately it ended up being a print. And this relationship between the diagram and the rendering is always, for me, a moment of letting go. It's a moment of kind of allowing the diagram to become something bigger than me. It's a form of sharing, let's say.